Hey there folks, welcome back to the Gunners Guild. In this video I want to talk about some of Remnant 2's mechanics and systems that have changed since Remnant 1, to give you all a brief overview of how things are working here, in case there was any confusion. Most of this info will become pretty obvious the more you played Remnant 2 and if you have played Remnant 1, but if you're still on the fence or just need something to listen to while driving to work, I got you covered. Anyway, let's get into this. So the first big and probably most marketed change in Remnant 2 is the Archetype system. These are essentially classes that you would find in any other RPG. See, back in Remnant 1, there weren't any actual classes, and your archetype was just something you picked at the beginning of the game, but it didn't really do anything. And much of your identity just came from the armor you have equipped, which provided you with like your largest boost to stats and damage. You built around that, and that was kind of your class. So with the shift away from tangible gear identifying your playstyle, the archetypes provide you with a foundation that you can further build around, without locking the player into certain looks or weight categories or stuff like that. So let's take a closer look at how the archetype systems are going to work and what they provide. Now each archetype ranges from level 0 to 10, and they provide you with a starting skill to use, and you unlock 2 additional skills at level 5 and 10. You can only have 1 archetype skill equipped at a time, but you can't really change them whenever you want, they just go on cooldown. Archetypes also provide you with perks that unlock as you level. Each archetype has the same type of perks, being 1 damage perk, 1 utility perk, 1 cooperative perk, and 1 relic perk. Your damage perk does start out fairly weak, but it will scale with your archetype level, so it is important that you level up as your damage isn't so front loaded like it was in Remnant 1 with the armor. Archetypes also come with a unique trait that is active when this archetype is equipped. This trait will increase as you gain archetype levels, as well as not count towards your now limited supply of traits. When you reach level 10 in the archetype, these traits become unlocked, and will allow the player to allocate points into them without having that archetype equipped. So you definitely want to max all the archetypes and have total trait freedom at that point. The last thing that each archetype provides is the Prime perk. Your main archetype has a perk that will provide you with a unique and powerful effect, and it's different for every archetype. This is important to know because we can equip 2 archetypes when we reach 10 trait points required. So your main archetype here on the left is the one that will provide your Prime perk, and you do not gain the Prime perk for both archetypes. So your secondary archetype, the one on the right, no Prime perk. This provides you with a little bit more customization options to the player, as the Challenger Medic combo, the Die Hard Guardian, has a different Prime ability than the Medic Challenger combo, the Regenerator Guardian. It's kind of confusing, but trust me, you'll get a hang of it. Last few bits of information about the archetypes is that you cannot equip 2 of the same archetype, so no double dipping or doing 2 hunters or something like that. You can also acquire all the starting archetype engrams, the items that provide the archetypes, from various NPCs in Ward 13, so don't worry about being locked out any of them when you pick them. So that's pretty much everything about the archetypes. Let's take a look at the armors really quick to see what's left after the armor perks got pulled from them. So now with the armors, they're going to provide you with defense, elemental resistances, and weight. So you're much more free to customize the look of your character and the weight class you're going to be in compared to Remnant 1. Weight is still an important thing to factor in your decisions because not only does it dictate your evade speed, but armor weight has hidden penalties to stamina regeneration and the cost of stamina to sprint and melee, so keep that in mind when you decide your playstyle. Heavier armor does provide you with more damage reduction, and because armors don't upgrade anymore, damage reduction is pretty much fixed to your armor, so you do want to manage that as well. As having, very light armor with no damage reduction means that throughout the game and as you scale into Apocalypse, you're going to be taking more and more damage because your damage reduction isn't going up at all. So moving on, let's talk about Relics. Now if you played Remnant 1, Relics are your Dragon Heart. If you're a Souls player, it's your Flask. Works exactly the same way. What's different in Remnant 2 about your Relic is that there are a lot of them, and they do a lot of goofy things besides just heal the player. They can provide you with stamina or mod power generation instead, or shields, damage reduction, leech, you name it. There's dozens of different ways to use these relics now, and you'll find them throughout your journeys, and you're free to change them on the fly, no big deal. You won't even lose your relic charges when you swap to them out in the field. Now you're still going to upgrade your charge count using simulacrums as you had before, and yes, those are still limited to 1 per biome. But now you can also further augment your relics with these relic fragments, which are basically just gems. You get 3 slots in your relic, and you can equip 3 different fragments whenever you want, no cost. You can remove them and not lose them, like you can trade them around, whatever. So you'll find these fragments or gems as you loot chests and slay elites, and their strength will improve with the player power level and the difficulty of the game, so max level Apocalypse will yield the best fragments. Duplicate fragments will be converted into relic dust, which you can use to roll new relics at Dwell in the Ward. Relic fragments will basically augment every stat in the game, so you're going to be able to choose 3 of pretty much any stat you can think of to manipulate to let you use it a little bit better. So that could be fire rate, skill cooldowns, skill damage, mod damage, elemental damage, resistances, life regen, you name it, anything about the game is in a relic fragment. Next, let's talk about mutators. This is also new. These are items that you can equip into your weapons to further augment how they function. It's like a little final tweak to making the guns yours, and it's really good for customization. This can include things like buffs that activate on kill, altering the ammo capacity, adding bleed on hit, increasing fire rate, all sorts of stuff, you name it. You'll be acquiring mutators from all sorts of different events and such, but killing aberration enemies is the most common way to get them. Aberrations are kind of like roaming mini bosses of regular enemies. They have way more modifiers than normal bosses and are usually pretty tough to handle. Mutators are typically either ranged or melee and can be used in all weapons as far as I know. These will provide small bonus effects at their base level, but they do get stronger as you level them up, and get another perk when they're maxed at level 10. You can level up your mutators with Corrupted Luminite, also found on aberration enemies, so keep killing those, and you can take them all to Dwell to upgrade them. Dwell will also sell you some mutators. Also, the mutators are fixed, they're not randomly dropped. Every specific aberration will drop a specific mutator, and all mutators are found in very specific spots. The last thing I want to briefly cover is the trait system and how it's changed from Remnant 1. Originally, you just gained traits as you leveled up, and you could eventually unlock and master all the traits and have 1,000 trait points. Here in Remnant 2, that's not the case, and you have to pick and choose your traits a little bit more carefully. You are limited to 60 trait points in Remnant 2, and another 25 or so will come from the traits granted by your archetypes. So in total, you're going to have about 85 trait points rather than 850 trait points. You still need to unlock most of the traits through in-game quests and events, just like you did in Remnant 1, but there are a set core of traits as well as all the archetype traits that you can unlock with just levels. You can reset your traits by purchasing Orbs of Undoing from Wally, they're not that expensive. In Remnant 1 you needed to complete the game first before you would get these reset orbs, but here in Remnant 2 they're always available. So you're not going to be locked into traits by any means, they're just pretty much locked behind a small material cost. Traits will definitely be a bigger factor in builds here in Remnant 2 because unlike Remnant 1, we're not just going to assume that you have all the traits. But that's pretty much going to be it for me, so thank you all for watching, hope you learned something. Thank you to my Patreon members and anyone who has supported me over the years, much appreciated. If you want to talk shop about games or Remnant, feel free to join my Discord in the description below, but thanks again and good luck out there.